So Ethan Klein is apparently still actually suing iDubbbz after it seemed that he agreed that he would not be suing him anymore. I'm gonna have timestamps for this video because I'm gonna give a bit of an understanding as to what happened firstly with the original lawsuit with Ethan Klein against iDubbbz, because it was really stupid. And if you know about that stuff, just jump to the next timestamp. I'll make sure it's very clearly indicated as to iDubbbz saying that he's still being sued, and I actually also have Ethan Klein's response and official statement about this matter. To keep it a stack, I think this sounds more exciting than it actually is, and I'll explain that with Ethan's response statement. People still have an issue with it, but again, I'll explain there. But of course, before we jump into any of it, really quick, if you could just leave me a thumbs up on this video, perchance a hype, and subscribe. I hate that I have to plug it every single video, but truly it is that important. But regardless of you doing any of that stuff, just thank you for watching. Now for that brief recap as to what has led up to this moment. iDubbbz was sued by Ethan Klein for defamation. What was this in regard to? This stunt right here, this is the Scorched Legume, I think. It was a Dragon VTuber avatar that iDubbbz was using. And you can see that there's some text up on the screen that's kind of like superimposed. And it was a message that Destiny had wrote, a different streamer, like a political streamer, and they wrote, quick daily reminder that Ethan from H3H3 is likely a PDF who has done stuff to his own children. Not very nice words. iDubbbz claimed that he had this up because he thought it was an insane claim, and he was blown away that H3 hadn't made any real comment on it or had any action taken against Destiny. A lot of people thought that this lawsuit was really frivolous, because why would you be going after iDubbbz when Destiny is the person that said it? The counter argument was that Ethan was claiming that Destiny made it clear that he was joking, whereas iDubbbz had actually like been around his kids, and that would give his opinion on that, it would give it more, I guess, defense or more credibility, which again didn't make sense because iDubbbz had introed this saying that he did not believe the accusations, but he thought it was wild and that Ethan should address it.
Okay, so I do want to say I don't agree with what's being said in this comment here. But I'm putting it on screen because I think it should be addressed, because it's a big, bold accusation that's very f***ed up.
So again, people weren't really big fans of that, and I think the bad PR from that might have actually helped move along this next decision, and that was Ethan having iDubbbz make a public apology video, effectively, and he said that he would stop the lawsuit. As a matter of fact, we can hop over to the YouTube video here apologizing to Ethan, which came out about a month ago here, June 15th, and the top comment here, which was pinned by iDubbbz. Hi Ian, I appreciate the thoughtful apology. It means a lot. I've instructed my attorneys to drop the lawsuit entirely. And that's where everyone assumed this was going to end, until just a few short hours ago, iDubbbz reveals that Ethan Klein lied and never actually dropped his lawsuit. Very interesting title here. Let's take a listen.
Yes, I do have important news. I'm going to try to be as candid about this as possible. I have my points written down in front of me. So here is the news. Here's the important news. Number one, Ethan Klein has not dropped the lawsuit. Number two, we've been actively dealing with it for the past couple of months. Number three, I'm bringing it up now because now we have court dates, basically. And so, you know, it's becoming a lot more real. I'm not particularly surprised, but I am disappointed. There really isn't much else I can say about the matter right now because, you know, it's legal. It's legal. So, yeah, we're going to keep pushing on. That doesn't change anything here. For the rest of the stream, I am going to be doing what we normally do. So yeah, that is it. I'm not going to be answering any questions in chat related to it. But there you go. I didn't even make you guys wait too long.
So that sounds a bit strange. Does not actually sound like Ethan dropping the lawsuit, being that iDubbbz has these court dates. Now, again, most of us are not actual lawyers, so we don't know if there's just like different proceedings that have to happen. Like you can't just say, I dropped the lawsuit and it ends. Matter of fact, we were just looking at CoffeeZilla and Logan Paul's where it is currently settling. So they still have to go through like stipulation for dismissal, those kinds of things. And maybe that was the issue. There were people even in the replies of that Reddit thread after parsing through some of the other stuff saying things like, yeah, maybe iDubbbz is just misunderstanding how court proceedings work. It's not like I declare bankruptcy and now you're just bankrupt. Like things actually have to happen. But this was also in addition confirmed by Ethan Klein. He was streaming today. As a matter of fact, I was tuning in, and he actually did address this and said that they are currently working through the settlement process of this. Here's the clip of that.
Oh, I guess I'll just comment on this because I see iDubbbz said, I am not dropping the lawsuit. And, well, listen, it's a bunch of technical bullshit. It's just we're in negotiating the terms of the settlement still. And that's it. I don't know. It's what it is. You know what I mean? We're negotiating the terms of the it's a meeting about the settlement. That's it. That's all it is. Right? So, whatever.
As you saw there, Ethan is confirming that they're going through settlement negotiation, which, okay, that sounds like kind of what you do in court. But apparently, there's a lot more to that than just that kind of surface level understanding. Apparently, there's ways that you can end, the settlement thing where no one needs to show up to court, or as a matter of fact, you don't have to go through that whole settlement ordeal, or maybe you do. What I'm talking about right now and what I'm going to show you guys is a bit of the arguing back and forth in this Reddit thread. Now, if you don't think that is worth your time, by all means, that's about the end of it. We are just speculating as to exactly what's going down. People are saying maybe they're negotiating because Ethan wants a payout, or maybe they're negotiating because they don't want, disparagement back to either side, or maybe iDubbbz doesn't want to be sued again in the future, so they're making that a part of the agreement, or at least trying to negotiate it. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I think most of the people in that Reddit thread are not lawyers, but I thought it was interesting to go through some of these threads. So let's take a look, shall we? So down below here, I'll zoom in for you guys here. Someone took a screenshot of the comment from H3 under the apology saying that they would drop the lawsuit entirely. And then people were joking about that. And someone said, dropping a lawsuit entirely means you voluntarily end your court case by filing a notice of voluntary dismissal, or notice of non-suit, a stipulation of dismissal signed by all parties, or an agreed motion to dismiss. I just realized 90% of the people in the comments are in some type of Michael Scott mindset where you can enter into a room and say, I declare bankruptcy, and that's that. Someone else said, dropping a lawsuit and negotiating in terms of settlement are different though, no? Then they said, are they really though? Like if you say, just apologize and I'll drop the suit, and the guy says, okay, I apologize, so you drop a suit. A day later, the guy goes, psych, I'm not sorry, fuck you. What do you do when you've dropped the suit? The settlement could be as simple as saying, okay, so you won't go back on the apology, right? Write that shit down and agree to it. I don't think that person has dealt with a lot of legal. I don't know. It really isn't that simple. Someone claimed back, no, you're being obtuse on purpose. He said he would drop the lawsuit entirely, not settle. They replied back, a stipulation is a formal condition, requirement, or agreement. Key contexts include contract terms and legal proceedings. A settlement is the private financial or behavioral agreement between the parties before entering a formal stipulation. I'm not being obtuse. If you filed in court, you can't just walk up and say, I'm good, we can drop it now. There are rules that apply to these things for a reason. I don't know why this person's being downvoted, but they reply back again, you're being obtuse for no reason. We all have access to the same info. Ethan lied. He said he would tell his attorneys to drop the lawsuit entirely. I guess I can kind of understand why people are upset because that gives this kind of finality to it. But again, that's not how court works to the best of my understanding covering this stuff. But then someone else made this comment, which I found interesting. They said, what's really interesting is you do not need to schedule court to discuss a settlement or drop a lawsuit. These things are often achieved outside of court. In Alberta, the plaintiff will file a notice for discontinuance or of discontinuance with a court clerk. Does not require an appearance. If parties are to settle, they'd file a consent order or stipulation of dismissal. This also doesn't require physical presence of the parties in front of the judge. This only gets complicated when the trial is already commenced, which it hadn't. Again, somebody else here saying, the cope is fucking insane, LMFAO. A notice of voluntary dismissal is more or less an immediate ending of the case by the plaintiff, which would not require settlement negotiations at all. It is completely unilateral and would be the implied action being taken by someone saying they're dropping the lawsuit entirely. What Ethan is doing is trying to weasel in a Noah Samson-style non-disparagement agreement and maybe an apology to Asmongold in a settlement agreement while getting credit for dropping his LOL suit. They reply back and forth, and then we see Canadian Law Division 8 on discontinuance. The plaintiff can discontinue all or any part of an action against one or more defendants before a date is set for trial. However, Ethan was looking to get a settlement agreement, and as Ian correctly points out, now that a trial date is set, either the two parties must sign a written agreement or the court must give the plaintiff permission to drop the lawsuit. Ethan lied, and he even still could drop the lawsuit, but he won't because he is a piece of shit. Interesting. And other people are pointing out, as we know, that Ethan Klein is a bit of a litigious figure here. So someone said, it may not be a financial settlement. The suit was filed. Settling is an appropriate way to drop it without angering the courts, from my understanding. Response back, well, he dropped the Noah case, so he's capable of dropping cases. He clearly just doesn't want to drop this one. They said back, it's much easier to drop a case that hasn't been responded to by the defendant's legal counsel in court than to drop a case that has been. But they're saying that Noah's counsel did respond, so maybe it's the exact same thing. Except that Noah is living in the US, I believe, and iDubbbz is living in Canada, so it may be more complicated. So because I'm not a lawyer and I can't verify if any single Redditor acting like they are is actually a lawyer, we have no idea. And really, it's starting to look very pedantic. Maybe it's important that Ethan was saying that he was going to drop the lawsuit entirely and he hasn't, that he's going for the settling. Who are we to know? Maybe that is important. And if it is, please let me know in the comments. And if by some miracle there is yet again a lawyer watching this video, please, I would love some clarification on this because it is very confusing. I think there is a very realistic chance that Ethan may have done this intentionally and wants to settle and get this, these certain settlement requirements in writing so that he benefits from it. Maybe it's monetary. More likely, it's probably the other stuff people mentioned about non-disparagement, things like that. But it's also very likely that this is the process that they may have to just actually do in a situation like this. I know a very small amount of US law, and I know an even smaller amount of Canadian law, especially in defamation, because I know it's different. But with all that out of the way, even if you're not a lawyer, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Please let me know in the comments, because it's a perplexing one. And if at the very least you enjoyed me covering it, including the Reddit arguments over who likes Ethan more and who likes iDubbbz more, leave the video a like, perchance a hype, and subscribe while you're here. Stay up to date on this terminally online news. But that's it. See you guys later. Adios. Peace. Bye.